goofs like Kenny Omega exist to bastardize and satirize pro wrestling. Not ever a great match. Usually it ends up being boring due to the matches being endless dull crap. But for some reason, he wants to be Triple H's idea of NWA heel champion and Manami Toyota at the same time, when in reality, he should be trying to be the next Ricky Steamboat? It's been a while since we've done a proper cage match dumpster dive. Just because, multiple reasons, mostly because I've been forgetting, because I'm forgetful. And we're firing back on all cylinders today. We're gonna get into some proper dumpster diving here. I decided we were gonna go with Kenny Omega this week, or this time I should say, and just because when I started doing the cage match dumpster dives, I had said, that I wanted to do poor wrestlers, bad wrestlers, but also I wanted to do good ones too. Like I wanted a mix. So now I'm kind of like, well, okay, now it's time to try something else with the ship here, and pull out old Kenny Omegas here, because I think what's interesting, I think the thing that makes this interesting, when you look at Kenny, right, who straight off the bat, as you can see here, right, is a 9.56 on Cagematch. Okay, like this is like an all-timer rating, right? I don't think anyone will disagree with that. I don't think anyone will say, Kenny Omega is like an absolutely like he's overrated with the 9.56, right? He's one of the all-time greats. He's just as simple as that. He's one of the all-time great professional wrestlers, and I figured it would be interesting to give a look, because there is also, despite the fact that he is a tremendous pro wrestler, there is a sect of people, let's call it that, who make it their personality to not like Kenny Omega or what he does. And I'm like, well, this might be reflected on Cagematch, right? There's got to be somewhere in this rating here, in this stuff, there's got to be someone somewhere that in their reviews for Kenny Omega has dropped the word twinkle toes somewhere. If you're picking up what I'm putting down here. So we're gonna take a look here. We're gonna have a little look-see. 1,265 tens. Okay, like seems excessive. I'm not gonna lie. Like tens. Oh, sure. Like he is one of the greatest. Okay, 1,265. I mean, that's a lot. But I'm a little surprised here. I thought there's 2 zeros. We're going to explore these 2 zeros. We're going to be seeking these 2 zeros out, because I really want to read what someone has to say by rating Kenny Omega as a 0. And you see, the thing is it goes from a 3 to a 0. And if anything, I respect the 3 a little more, because you're like, he's not complete garbage. You cannot completely toss him aside and say one of the worst wrestlers of all time. You just can't. That's just bad faith. That's just bad faith nonsense. If you look at his historical ratings, look at this. Isn't that interesting? 7.88 in 2010, 7.75 in 2011, just, around the same vicinity. Then jumps up to 8.17 in 2012, a 9 in 2013. Now, I will acquiesce. Not a lot of people rating Kenny Omega matches back then. 2014, 9.40. Now we're in 2015, 9.41. 17 people here. 2016. Now we're in Bullet Club territory here, right? This is now we're in Bullet Club environments here. 9.62, 118 people voted. 9.62 went a little higher in 2017 with a 2.75. 9.41 in 2018. 9.45. These are fucking high ratings. These are extremely high ratings. 9.31 in 2020. Pandemic, what are you going to do about it? But his highest ratings, look at this. His highest ratings have been over the past, I'm sorry. His highest rating is in 2017, as it should. Like, that makes a lot more sense. But the past 3 years, 9.68, 9.63, 9.71. And he didn't even wrestle in most of 2024. He didn't even wrestle. It wasn't even there. And he's wrestled 2 matches in 2025. And he gets a 9.95. Now listen, I like Kenny Omega as much as the next person, don't get me wrong. There's way too much good in Kenny Omega, don't get me wrong here. But holy smokes, he's barely wrestled this year and people are dropping 10s on him, right? I'm like, okay, well, we could also pump the brakes a little bit. So are those most recent years reflective of AEW stance trying to counteract the haters? Maybe, because if you were to ask me, these are the great Kenny Omega years here, right? Into 2019, right? These are the great Kenny Omega years. These are 9.7 years, 9.8 years in my opinion. So maybe he has match of the year for 2025 so far. I don't know if you realize we're only 1 month in the year and Kenny Omega is still wrestling. So just want to put that out there. So what are we going to do? Are we going to search out for this zero? So here's a zero that was given to us by Hursty97. Hursty97. And it goes like this. This guy, it was written in 2021, by the way. This guy, along with the Young Bucks, represent everything I dislike about modern wrestling and AEW. Goofs like Kenny Omega exist to bastardize and satirize pro wrestling. Yes, because as we all know, folks, pro wrestling is so fucking serious. It is the most serious thing. There's no room for nonsense, no room for goofiness. There's, just a couple of people having pretend fights. That inherently it's the epitome of seriousness. So yeah, they're just completely trashing the good name of professional wrestling. Let's continue. No interview, no promo is believable. He churns out matches for an audience of, Dave Meltzer and his sycophants who ascribe value to what some unqualified dilettante says. Who ascribe value, and his sycophants who ascribe value to what some unqualified dilettante says. Dave Meltzer is a dilettante? I don't think this person knows what a dilettante means, because Dave is not a dilettante. Look, let's make sure here, okay? Let's make sure we're all on the same level here. A person who is or seems to be interested in a subject, but whose understanding of it is not very deep or serious. Dave Meltzer probably has the deepest knowledge of pro wrestling that, outside a couple of other people, he has the deepest understanding of pro wrestling of anyone. He is the opposite of a dilettante. He is very knowledgeable. What is this? Anyway, I think when you read this, I think when the Silver Apocalypse, I think, nailed it here in the chat. I mean, this screams Cult of Cornet, right? I mean, you can hear the terms like goofs, bastardize and satirize pro wrestling. And again, satirizing pro wrestling, bastardizing pro wrestling. I love watching pro wrestling, and I love coming to talk about it and review it, and get excited at good matches and get mad at bad matches and, get mad at bad stuff happening in the business. I take it to heart, but I also understand what I'm watching. I'm never going to sit here and say, oh, yes, we're breaking down this lofty institution, this untouchable, pristine pillar of North American culture that is professional wrestling. Folks, we have to be self-aware of what we're into to a degree, right? It's great and all, and it's tremendous. And when pro wrestling hits, there is no other form of entertainment that can come even close to it. But if you think that pro wrestling is going down the tubes, I don't think you need to blame the Jacksons or Kenny Omega for that, quite frankly. Anyway, very poor review. And stuff we've heard before, of course. Now we've got another 0 here, the second 0 that Kenny Omega has picked up. Richie Edwards. Is that it? Rich I Dwards. I think that's, anyway. Gave Kenny Omega 0 here. Here we go. He is really not very good. This is from 2018. We're in prime Kenny Omega territory here. Now, here's the thing. This guy probably really doesn't like him. And at this point, probably hasn't been infected by cornetisms in regards to Kenny Omega here. Because it's 2018. We haven't crossed that threshold yet because Kenny Omega hasn't started showing up on American TV. So, of course, Jim Cornette doesn't give a fuck. But this guy starts off by saying he is really not very good, which, kind of disqualifies him. But let's continue. I will start off with the good stuff. Wait, is he not very good? Or because if there's good stuff, okay. I will start off with the good stuff. He is one hell of an athlete, able to go at a very high pace for long periods of time, and that is where the positive ends. Okay. Everything he does is at a very high pace. We've been there. You've said that, yes. And he never slows down to give anything room to breathe. Slap a headlock, kid. His big matches consist of him just throwing out moves when he is not being controlled by a much better talent such as Tanahashi. Okay, interesting. Nothing he does tells me that he is in a wrestling match. It is just a procession of stuff that means nothing. It can be one hell of a show or spectacle, but not ever a great match. Usually it ends up being boring due to the matches being endless dull crap. You can throw, oh, he's just a moves guy around, which, is inherently it's a silly critique, but you can throw that around saying, oh, all he is a move guy, right? But even when it comes to move guys, they're usually not dull matches. You get the high flyers into the matches, right? They start doing like these insane acrobatic moves. And let's say that's all they do, a spot fest. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. You get in there, and people have a spot fest. Now, I'm not just talking Kenny Omega. I'm talking about you get the proper people into a spot fest match. And I'll be damned if you're not like, ooh, cheering and standing up and applauding when the match is over. Because that's what spot fest matches are for. Now, if your entire show is made up of spot fests, well, that's another problem. And then it does wane, but just enjoy it. Guys doing incredible athletic moves, flying through the air, doing amazing shit. It's not dull. You can't call it dull. You just can't call it dull. Like a highly practiced gymnastics or dance routine. Oh, yeah, we're in the midst of this, right? The aftermath of Ospreay versus Ricochet, right? It's not wrestling, it's gymnastics. It's a routine. Right? We're in the like 2018, you know, we're very much entrenched in that thought process. His comedy is really goofy and works, but only when he is not trying to be a top guy at the same time. To me, his ceiling is an undercard comedy wrestler, and his progression up the cards is depressing as New Japan moves from top guys of Tana, Nagata, and the dross of Omega and Okada, who are much lower end talents. I'm sorry. This guy's completely disqualified. This guy is completely disqualified. Now, moving away from Tanahashi, they didn't move away from Tanahashi in 2018. They were not moving away from him. They can barely move away from him today in 2025. Excuse me. We're not going back in time here. They can barely move from Hiroshi Tanahashi, broken down, busted up, shell of his former self, Hiroshi Tanahashi. They still want him on cards. They're doing a full year of his retirement because they don't want him to go. They don't want to let go. So yeah, but I mean, look, to the dross of Omega and Okada, he's throwing Okada in here. I don't know what this guy wants. I don't know what Rich I Dwards wants out of his wrestling, but if he thinks Omega and Okada are dregs, I honestly hope he's moved on to better hobbies for him. Honest to God. But people seem to love him, and I cannot understand it. In the same way I cannot understand why people love Shawn Michaels or Kurt Angle so much. Probably the worst wrestler I've ever seen, along with mid-80s Swede Hansen. What? Who is this guy? Who is this guy? I can't do that. I can't. I would love to see this guy's other ratings. What does he? Is $10? He's a big fan of Randy Orton. He's a big fan of Randy Orton. Watch Some Wrestling has an update for us, though. This current guy we're reading gave Roman a 9 and Shawn Michaels a 4. Just bonkers. We see what he wants out of his wrestling. He wants plodding, stoic, slow-paced matches. Just slap a hold, kid. Slap a headlock, kid. That's what he wants. That's insane. That's really, really nuts. He gave Okada a 3.0. So Okada is 3 full points better than Kenny Omega, according to Rich I Dwards. I really hope this guy, I really hope he found another hobby to spend his time on and enjoy, because clearly he doesn't. He must be depressed at where pro wrestling is today. So we got some. Should we read a couple of threes? We'll read a couple of threes just to maybe cleanse the palate, because I feel if you're giving a 0 to Kenny Omega, there's a lot of rage to this, and I think it goes for a lot of wrestlers. Like if you rate a wrestler 0, I think there's a lot of anger and dislike that's going into your rating. I don't think it's very objective to begin with, regardless of who it is, unless the wrestler is really bad, like Luigi Primo. Makoto 92 in 2023 has written this: time has passed, and I began to think that Kenny Omega is kind of overrated, man. Why is he writing this like he's talking to me? It's fine. We're not conversing. I'm listening. Maybe he was the best in New Japan, but it's not hard to be at the top of a promotion where there's no turnover in the main event and the booker is the same overrated person. Not when Kenny Omega was a top guy, friend. There was an embarrassment of riches at the time. What are we doing here? And when Kenny moves to America, all his disadvantages are apparent. He can't cut a promo like a star. He can't make good matches like a star. And he is constantly being pulled by his rival. Match with Bryan Danielson is the perfect example of this case. Oh, honey, Makoto 92, who hurt you? Kenny Omega's he was carried by all his opponents. Oh, why? What brought you to that thing? What brought you to that thought process? I mean, look, if you want to make the argument that New Japan right now has suffered, look, there was a turnover problem with New Japan and with the main event scene, and they didn't do anything to rectify it, and now they're stuck with the problem that they have today, which is we're trying to push we're desperately trying to get some of our new guys over because the old guys are either gone or they can't go anymore. And that is unquestionably a problem, right? But we saw it just like a couple of weeks ago. Kenny Omega returns to the promotion and he looks and feels like the biggest deal in the world. So you're not going to come here and tell me that, oh yeah, small fish, small pond, big fish. No. Kenny Omega, man, we have to stop pretending, having this narrative that he's got all these flaws and whatnot. Look, Kenny Omega cuts promos that he's got this weird way of doing promos, but somehow always managed to be compelling. And I think that's just like, it's an unnatural ability that he has. He won't cut a promo like Stone Cold. He's not going to cut a promo like Prime MJF. He's not going to cut a promo like Roddy Piper. But he's going to cut promos in his style, and I'll be damned if his promo off of the scaffolding from Dynamite last week wasn't great. All the way down to and now hit my music because I'm afraid of heights. Like that's Kenny Omega. It's fine. Anyway, Comrade Vans in 2021 gave Kenny Omega 3 stars. Or 3 points out of 10. Kenny Omega is the most overrated wrestler of the decade. His matches is just spamming V triggers 10 plus times. Oh yes, those matches where Kenny Omega does minimum 10 V triggers. In fact, it's a hallmark of Kenny Omega matches. 10 is the bare minimum amount of V triggers, right? And doing moves that adds nothing to the story. What does that even mean? Like, this is someone who's trying to pass themselves off as a connoisseur. It's saying, doing moves that add nothing to a match, that proof right there that you don't understand how match structure works or how a story in a match is told. Because moves add something. That's what moves are for. Now, is the story good? Is it athletic? Are the moves well performed? So on and so forth. But moves that add nothing to the story. That's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. He is bad on promo. Okay. His gimmick is, guys, do you remember that I've been good in Japan and wrestled Okada? When was that ever Kenny Omega's promo gimmick? When was ever Kenny Omega's gimmick, hey, I was big in Japan and I fought Okada? I honestly, I'm drawing a blank. Like maybe during his heel run when he was champion, maybe, he'd puff his chest and go, I was the biggest star in Japan, and which is what a heel should do. But that was never his gimmick. Yeah, I remember. And now you are slower than ever. Oh, baby. Oh no, boy, oh. He tries to do Puro style matches in the USA and it look like regular cheap spot fests. This guy, I mean, this is an automatic disqualification. Comrade Vance clearly does not know what he's talking about. Because if you do Puro style matches, you're not doing a spot fest. Anyone who has ever watched some Puro will know that a Puro match is the opposite of a spot fest. That's it. It's like the complete opposite. Wait a minute. Wait. Something just caught my eye here. I'm going to read one more. This 4 here. I feel like AI3 wrote in 2021. Okay. Kenny Omega is a mystifying and frustrating worker to see perform. It's unfortunate. He has all the tools to be the best in the world, but for some reason, he wants to be Triple H's idea of NWA heel champion and Manami Toyota at the same time, when in reality, he should be trying to be the next Ricky Steamboat? While I did not like the work, he excelled at the babyface role in New Japan Pro Wrestling as the cleaner. He wasn't a babyface. And Austin-like presence. What is this guy saying? What is this guy saying? What is it? What? Look, you can't. You can't. Why are we trying to compare? Like, you can compare Kenny Omega to other people than Stone Cold Steve Austin in their aura or, you know, their babyface. Look, Kenny Omega as the cleaner was not a babyface. Let's get that clear. He was not a babyface. As the cleaner. Unfortunately, just like Steve Austin himself, when he became heel, he took a turn down. What are we even doing? What are we even? Oh, Juno, help me, darling. What is going on here? The only difference being the work was still good. He still has all the potential in the world, but GOAT, I just don't think so. Buddy, hey, I am not your buddy. I am not your buddy. I feel like AI3. This guy saying, what a great heel. What a great babyface he was as the cleaner. Like, what the fuck? Can you imagine? You be a great babyface like Ricky Steamboat, you know, just like when you were the cleaner, you were a great babyface like Ricky Steamboat. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. What are we talking about here? Well, okay. I think we've seen enough. Kenny Omega's cage match dive here. Shout out to the haters. I don't know how it feels to be so wrong, and I'm sorry that you have that. I'm sorry that you have to feel so wrong about everything regarding Kenny Omega. I kind of feel bad for you. I'm gonna start a GoFundMe for you. I'm gonna go start a GoFundMe for you all, so we can get you, I don't know, like sleeping bags, you know, nice cozy warm sleeping bags, and maybe some, you know, footsie pajamas, stuff like that, just to, because I feel you need some comfort in your life.